your man Delvin. Welcome to Delvin's Room, and I want to share and talk to y'all about one of my favorite cartoons of all time. This one is near and dear to me, the Angry Beavers, bruh. Like, I loved the Angry Beavers coming up. Daggett, Norbert, they funny shenanigans. I loved this. It came out in the late 90s, 97, and it lasted 4 seasons now. People loved it. It was very popular on Nick. It lasted until 2001, 62 episodes, but over 100 segments, over 120 segments. So that's good for a TV show, right? And this, in my opinion, was the golden era of Nickelodeon. You feel me? Like, they was just dominating. I mean, you had some people that was big fans of Cartoon Network. Some people loved Disney. But Nick was dominating. From where I'm from, Nick was dominating. You had Keenan and Kel, all that, kablam. SpongeBob was coming, Ren and Stimpy. You had Rugrats. Yeah, it had so much going on Nick. So, this was Nick time to shine for real, for real. But nonetheless, you had Daggett and Norbert, the Angry Beavers, right? And Daggett was more of the Angry Beaver. Norbert was the one that really made him mad. The premise of the show, they got kicked out by their parents. They had to go find their own dam, and they went and go make their own beaver dam, and they just get into all type of trouble together. They have fun in the forest with the different animals. Besides Norbert is my favorite character, because Norbert is like outgoing, very spontaneous, free loving. The women loved it. Norbert, the other women, animals loved it. Norbert, he was the cool one, right? And Daggett was more of the annoying little brother. You feel me? Always, Norbert, you can't do that. You can't do this. And Norbert always like, hey man, you messing up my vibe, right? I'm having fun as this beaver, right? So it was cool, right? Here's the funny thing I didn't know until I got older was that the forest was basically in Canada. I didn't even know it was based in Canada. Shout out to Canada with that one, right? And but what I was saying before is my favorite character outside of Norbert was Barry Bear. I loved the Barry Bear. I never knew. Well, I guess I kind of knew, but he was modeled after Barry White. So he always was singing. He always was vibing with the other animals. You feel me? So yeah, I love that Barry Bear. And here's another cool thing too. On the newest game, Nick Brawls 2, the Angry Beavers is on there, man. I've been trying to get that game. I gotta get that game and check it out to see how they did the characters. But nonetheless, this show, I was thinking to myself, could this show come out? Because I believe it should be a reboot, right? Honestly, I think a new generation will love the Angry Beavers. I think they should reboot it. But I also think to myself, would it work now though? I have to be honest, like, for that time, this show was considered edgy for kids because, I remember it was a big controversy that Norbert said shut up in one episode, right? And that was a big thing, at that time. Like, cartoon characters for kids saying shut up. That was like a no-go, So that being edgy and certain stuff they did on the show that was edgy, could they pull that off now? People are way more sensitive now than they ever. So you would be censoring a cartoon show for kids even more. You know what I'm saying? So it would be. I would love to see a reboot. They have talked about it a lot of times. I think they've talked about it like numerous times. The latest time they talked about it in 2022. Some of the executives, they was really wanting to do it, but nothing concrete and solid as of yet. But I think that would be one of the drawbacks. Could it even come out now? You know what I'm saying? Like, people have a problem with a lot of things, and the great things about Angry Beavers was they was allowed to be as silly as possible, especially Daggett. Daggett was very silly. Norbert was cool, a great thing about this show was, right, they didn't really have to have a lot of villains. They had a couple scientists. They had the friend Bing, who was just annoying. He wasn't even like a villain. So you have this show where it's not even a lot of villains. It's just a lot of different funny characters. Barry the Bear, the parents, Tree Flower, Norbert's kind of girlfriend. You had the masked macho man. Like, it was just fun loving and silly more than anything. That's what I think, I can't tell you I keep up with the cartoons nowadays, but one thing I started to notice cartoons going forward, they lack that silliness and just funness and just freedom. And I think this show was that for us as kids, for all us late 90s kids, 2000s kids, that we got to experience that. Like shows like Ren and Stimpy, Kablam, and all that. They was really shows where it was more about silliness than really having a villain. Like it was no villains on this show. That's the thing about it. It was no villains. It was just silliness, funniness, and two brothers. You feel me? So it lasted a long time. I would love to see a reboot, but the way cancel culture is now, I wouldn't want them to ruin our childhoods. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want them to ruin it. But one of my favorite shows of all time, like it'll be a top 10 cartoon for me. Hey Arnold, Recess. There's a lot of shows. Ren and Stimpy was really good, but I can't lie. The Angry Beavers have a very special place in my heart. I loved this cartoon.